Welcome, ladies and gents. I'm Dan the Man Muñoz, host of Movie Menu Interviews, where we interview up-and-coming filmmakers to discuss their films from idea to completion. On today's episode, we'll be interviewing filmmaker Richard Alexander of Ramblings Productions. I'd like to welcome Richard to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you guys for having me here.
So the reason why we do this show is discuss the process for future filmmakers out there, to talk about what worked and what you would change for your next project, plus any advice you'd like to give to our listeners. Richard, would you like to give us a little bit of background about yourself?
My name is Richard Alexander. I'm 24 and...
He likes long walks on the beach.
Yeah. I'm a filmmaker that's based in East Los Angeles.
Hey, we're a podcast based in East Los Angeles. Yay!
It's great. I'm pretty sure I've done almost all my films in East Los Angeles, so
representing.
Very much of a community-based filmmaker.
That's awesome. So how did you get into filmmaking? Like, what was it that sparked your interest into, you know what, I want to tell these stories, I want to make these stories? What was that for you?
I think I can probably go back all the way to the middle of high school. I was really into horror movies.
As he's wearing a Suspiria t-shirt.
Yeah, I'm wearing a Suspiria. And I decided to just start getting more into horror films, start looking more deeper into the catalog rather than what was being released every week at theaters. So I think it was when I first watched Evil Dead. I think that's the first film where I was completely fully interested on the way it was filmed. It did look low budget. Another one, it had this real aspect. What I mean by that, it looked possible to make. Mm-hmm. And of course, it was just a horror movie and it was fun. I thought that was great. So that thing kind of hit me. I'm like, whoa, that was crazy. I haven't seen anything like that, you know? There's another movie I saw around the same time. It was Clerks. Clerks was another one that sort of gave me that same feeling where it was like, oh, this looked possible because it was so simple. But it did have that real aspect to it, you know, regarding the filmmaking. I don't think I started taking filmmaking seriously until after high school. During high school, I was doing a lot of video projects with my friends. It was honestly little stuff, like little clips. I would record funny moments. Say at the end of the day, I would stay over my friend Eddie's house. He would, hi Eddie. He would, he would stay up and edit all the clips together on Windows Movie Maker. My God.
Yeah, you know, those were the good times.
Yeah, that was I forgot. Yeah, it was very simple, very straightforward, especially for those straightforward videos. Just honestly nonsense. I think it eventually evolved.
But that's how you build your craft. You get as much nonsense as possible, and then somehow eventually evolve into making sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I saw I found it as some sort of formula where I would capture moments, and I thought that was cool. I would eventually start recording things on my own, all the hangouts, all the stuff I would do, and then...
Now, was it live stuff that you'd film your friends just doing, or would you write stuff and then people, you get your friends involved?
It was mainly just on the spot. Say if someone was doing something stupid, I would record it, or if something was going on, or a moment we were hanging out somewhere, go to an event, record it.
Now, would you record it on a camera or on a phone?
And there was a digital camera I used to have in high school, but they stole it. They stole that camera.
Bastards.
It sucked. But then that's when the iPhone came out. We had all these capabilities of recording on our phone. So my iPhone 4, that was late high school. Damn. At the end of the year, I would do this compilation of what I would do, sort of like a home movie type of thing. Mm-hmm. That was when I was taking it a little more seriously. I started taking some film courses at the Pasadena City College. The film program there is great. All the professors there are filmmakers, so they're talking to you very truthfully. They're talking to you because they know where you're coming from. They're like, yeah, we're gonna be honest with you. Just start.
That's awesome. And a lot of people that we've had interviewed in the past have come from Pasadena City College. So if you're in Los Angeles, maybe Pasadena City College is a place to go.
Yeah, it's I really value the film program. I think I went the first course I took. It was in another building, but that same year they had built a building just for the arts, and it was great. We had our own floor, and everyone was a filmmaker there, whether an editor or graphic designer. It was crazy. It was cool.
Space for inspiration.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. It was there where I started just taking things seriously.
And so tell me about some of the projects you worked on in college. How was the process for writing? And then from where you finished it, how did that turn out?
Right. The first ever thing I did there was sort of like a visual narrative thing. I think our professor was saying, "Oh, write film a story with no words, purely visual. And that's when I was like, oh, I'll try this thing where I think it was about a friend leaving a college and then he gets accepted, but now he doesn't want to go to college. I don't know. It's very serious. Like, I think it was reflecting upon the way I felt around the same time. You're a
right,
freshman.
And
yeah, it was very weird. But I did have fun with it. My friend Jerry was starring in it, and then I had all my friends in it too. I think I could say is that every other short, there was a little bit of like chunks of what I did with that first short, but better. Because I felt unsatisfied with the first version, basically. I think everyone does feel unsatisfied with their first version.
That's literally every artist's motto. I could do better.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I don't think anyone's ever that satisfied. That's just weird. Let's see. I did that, but the first narrative, it was because of the responses I got from the first visual project. The professor was telling me, oh, you should do a narrative next. I'm like, I think I should. Like, why not? Why can't I just write a script? And having said that, I saw templates and I went from there. So it was kind of difficult. But luckily, everyone I've worked with understood what I meant because that just helps. Helps me along the way, too. I don't feel that dumb.
It's like, wait, this movie is supposed to start. Why does it say Fade to Black?
That's a first error I did. Fade in. First narrative I did was his name called Ramblings of a Dying Adolescent. Very serious. But it was from a song, so I didn't think of that. I'm not that demented. It was very much of an experimental short. But for that short, I wanted to go all out. It was like, oh, every film student shoots on film. So I went out and bought a 16 millimeter. And I bought like 2 rolls of Kodak 500T, if I remember. I was like, okay, I'm going to shoot this. But what I learned is that if you're dealing with old tech, it's not going to perfectly come out the way you would want it. There's going to be some errors. It's used, first of all. It's like more than 20 years old. So there's going to be some issues along with it. But as a backup, I shot with the mini DV that they offered and my phone. So it was like I used like various like video
at the same time.
Yeah.
It's so like Tommy Wiseau. He'll film digital and film.
I mean, you gotta use your resources. Yeah, I would shoot the film portions as flashbacks and the current things with digital. So just to make it coherent in some way.
And that's cool, actually. That's how it started with it itself. Like it's how the way it's filmed, because film is classic, digital is future.
The storyline was constructed with flashbacks, so it's about a kid reminiscing about his brothers. So like every time he's thinking about his brothers, it's shot on film.
So you talked about your first project was Rambling of a Dying Adolescent. What have you learned also from doing that project?
Definitely from those first projects I've done, leading to the last project I did in school, I definitely learned how to maintain a film with no budget. I think that's the most crucial thing that I've learned, and I definitely have held on to that aspect. It very much helps with any production, I feel. The less you spend, the more opportunities of creativity you may have, I think.
Yeah, it's very true with a lot of films that are like independent films. The lower budget, the more creative you have to be.
Yeah, some people will think it's a limitation, but I just think it's it's just realistically speaking, if the more ambitious you are, the more money you're going to spend. So just try to keep it grounded for now. You'll get there soon. High concept is cool, but, try to make it toned down to a point where
real concept,
yeah. High concept is always cool. Fantasy is great. I love fantasy. Horror. I mean, I always lower horror as into grounded because it's possible. I mean, you can make everything practical and you can make everything atmospheric just on your own. You don't need a lot of money. You don't need a lot of money. That's just on that too. That's just, I don't know. That's a whole other thing.
Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween. It was just a man walking around.
Yeah, it was creepy. It was cool. Yeah. The soundtrack worked too. Also, you needed a soundtrack. Yeah. What I learned is approaching movies with no budget, basically, and also having fun on set. Because I feel if everyone's not having fun on set, something going on.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone, especially since they're all doing it for free. When you're starting off, that's the main thing. You got to do everything for free. Some people aren't going to be turned on by that. Some people are going to be like, oh, sure, why not? But not everyone's that
committed
because they don't know what's going on.
Right.
They don't know how serious you are. But just approach it seriously and
have a good time.
Yeah, have a good time. I think you can manage the both. Once you manage the both,
that's true. It's like you set the tone for the set as well. Yeah. So if you just want to make sure that everyone else is having a good time and you're having a good time as well. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about your production company, Ramblings Productions.
Yeah.
How did it get started? Where did the name come from?
started my first narrative, which is called Lemonheads. It started off mainly first as a output to upload it somewhere. I mean, you have Vimeo and YouTube, but those are just video sources to me. Those are like oceans. I wanted to make like at least a lake or a pool, so people could be like, oh, I can go there just to watch it, So they know where to refer to. My goal was to make it into like a collective hub where like other artists, filmmakers, etc. can just like upload their stuff there so everyone else could see it, The name, sort of like a little short version of what Ramblings of a Dying Adolescent was, just ramblings. But it very much started with my friend Danny. He's a
shout out to Danny in the audience.
He's a graphic designer, so he helped me out with a lot of the visual aspect to it. Because I know when you're starting off, you need to have like a presentation, I guess, surface, promotion, make yourself look good. He helped for that part, and then I had other friends on board. There were musicians and also other filmmakers that I've met at PCC. They have their stuff on there too. That's
great. Yeah, because you do have a nice collective of film, music, and even a podcast on your production website.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now it's more of like a community thing. Like, I want more people. Like, I know everyone has a struggle of having exposure at first. I mean, I'm in the same level. Why not share that same
struggle?
Like all together, just help each other out. We help each other on set.
Building a community.
Yeah, it's just a community, especially that. I noticed too that the East LA film community, well, I mean, there's kind of one that's absent. I think it's absent, or at least it's not that prominent. I don't think that's so strong because I haven't found it. Mm-hmm. I know there's filmmakers here, but I know that they're all scattered around. And I mean, if there's any filmmakers out there, just go ahead and reach out. Just we can start by talking. Because the most important thing as filmmakers is to at least know each other.
Now I know a couple of years ago, and I hope he would bring it back again. But there was the East LA Film Festival.
I saw, though that was 2014, I think, or 2016, I can't remember.
It was 2016 or 2017, around there. Yeah. It has been a few years. Maybe that's something that someone should
bring it back.
Bring it back again.
Yeah, I mean, I have ambitions too. Like, I would want to do something like that too. We have a lot of stuff here. We have a strong art community here. Mm-hmm. Boyle Heights has like a lot of rich culture there too. So everyone's active there. But I just feel like the filmmaking community could be as strong as that too. That could be an accumulation of everything. I mean, you have film, music, and politics too. If you like, everything melded on together. It's film. It's crazy. I know there's filmmakers out there just want to talk, letting out a message.
So let's talk about your film that you're currently working on, Midnight Run. Can you give a synopsis of the film?
Midnight Run, my first feature-length film. It opens up with a DJ going back to his radio station, and he starts off the station and introduces the hour that he has. It's called the Midnight Run. So having said that, the movie has a lot of music in it. It's going to follow a structure where there's music cues. The DJ host will come in and out of the film, sort of like how a radio station would kind of like construct, The movie's about two friends, Brian and Felix. They're leaving this boring Halloween party. At this time, there's this rumor that's being spread around of Brian. That word has gone around to his friends and his best friend Felix. And so there's this weird tension, and it's awkward. Fast forwarding, the two friends get stranded, and so they're left alone, and they're forced to walk home. On their way home, they decide to take a shortcut at this sketchy alleyway. It's at El Pino.
It's always the damn alleyway.
Yeah, so they decide to take a shortcut at this spot. While they're taking a break, a group of skaters wearing old Ben Cooper Halloween masks come out, and they jump them, and they steal their shit. So when the two main characters regain consciousness, they set out to find these guys. And so the film jumps back and forth in two storylines. The skaters going around the city and spending the money, and the two main characters trying to find these guys and also trying to settle this issue that they're having with each other.
Now, you have a trailer for the music out right now.
For the music, yes. Yeah. There's going to be a soundtrack released because it's all purely composed for the film.
So let's take a listen to that trailer with the music.
didn't bring a sweater and I'm cold standing out here.
Have you told Felix yet?
Oh, you know how to react.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and talk about the writing process for this film. Where did the idea come from? And how long did it take to write it down into a script?
Well, it's funny because the movie started off as another short. Because I had another feature I had in mind that was scheduled to be filmed before, but that one involved money. And so I thought it was a weird time where I had a break from school because I wanted to work on this feature. But there was a good absence of me not doing anything, so I felt a little not that inspired. So I thought, okay, why not I make a short meanwhile? I'll do it with no money as well. I wanted to do this with my friends. I wanted to write with my friends, but there's some complications. And being as ambitious as I am, I wanted to explore more of the film, and I thought it could be longer. Eventually, I thought, okay, how about I make this one my first film, but I'll do the tactic of making it with no money. So I thought, okay, I mean, if I'm gonna do it with no money, I'll probably use all the things I've learned during those film courses and just try my best to make it with no money in mind. So I decided to write it. The writing process was actually really easy. It was a lot of ideas that I had in mind for the past 4 years. I just had to construct it. The screenplay is kind of messy, but I always regarded it as a blueprint. So whenever I sent it to the actors, they would just go off from there. They'll just read like, oh, this is what I got to do. This is what I got to talk about. Go ahead and just talk about it.
Then you A, then you Z, so
Yeah.
they're just going to fill in the blanks.
Definitely. I always thought I couldn't write proper dialogue, slang, the way people would talk. So I thought, oh, these guys talk their own way. Just go ahead and implement that with your character, and then we'll sort of collaborate on our own way. Because I feel like, of course, with the actors, you always got to collaborate, especially on the writing process. If they don't think it's cool, then okay, then I don't think it's cool either. So, let's go ahead and just work out something. So the writing process was fairly easy. What was difficult was probably just starting it up because it's a feature and that's scary. Yeah.
With basically no budget.
Definitely.
Which I commend you.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's been an experience. That's for sure. Yeah.
So how long were the shoots? How many days did it take for you to film it, and how many hours were you filming a day?
The most safest way is to approach the filming process through acts. So I did this experiment where I would send the script to the actors through acts. So I would only send them act 1, and whoever was in act 1 would only be showing up in like shooting days. So I thought, okay, it'd be cool. I'll approach it like short films. Like, I'll do like 2 weeks of this, and then there'll be 2 weeks of act 1, and then we can finally move on to act 2. None of them were allowed to see anything from act 2 because I thought I don't want anyone jumping ahead. And if they did, then they'd be waiting for a long time because I had no idea how long this was going to take, especially since it's made with no money. So I knew, let's take our time with this. Filming the first act was less than 2 months. Filming the second act, well, that was kind of difficult because there's characters that were introduced in the final parts of the act that weren't going to show up until the last part of the act. So I thought that was going to be difficult to cast now because I'll have them wait, especially with no money. Right. People are going to be waiting for no money. Production started in 2016. There's a lot of difficulties, a lot of people dropping out of the project because, it's no money. It lasted for a good while, all the way to 2017. In 2017, there's this kind of weird event that happened. So, do you guys watch the El Rey Network? It was El Mariachi's 20th anniversary or 25th anniversary. He's starting off this documentary show where he would recruit filmmakers wanting to do their first film, and they'll give them a $7,000 budget to make their first film, like he did in El Mariachi. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I was at work and I applied to it. So I went upstairs and I hid for an hour and I applied to it. Whoever's listening. Anyway, so I applied and I sent it. I'm like, okay, nothing, whatever. I was in the middle of this production too. And then I got a response back, and I was like, oh, man, this is crazy. I didn't think that was going to happen. They were interested in whatever, and we went on, and I waited for the second phone call. So that's when I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So around the time I was reading Rebel Without a Crew, the book, the Robert Rodriguez's book. And he was just talking about all these tactics about how to make money or how to use money or how to use little money as possible. And I thought, okay, if he can do all this, then I'll probably do the same method that he did. So I'll kind of lie. So I'll say like, okay, I'm about to make this movie called Midnight Run. I'll use it with $7,000. You know, like I'll finish the movie with that. But in reality, I have already filmed half of the movie, and I'll use half of the money, and I'll save the rest of the money and use it for my next film.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I can do it. I mean, they're not gonna get mad at me. I finished the film, didn't I? So fast forward, they went all the way with the production. I went on board to like some sort of semi-finalist like pool. I told them about the idea, but then they told me, oh, it has to be original script. You have to start it from fresh. You have to cast from fresh, and you have to go to Austin to film it. I'm like, oh crap. In my head, this film was made around with my locations in mind, my neighborhoods in mind.
Right.
So I had to think of something new. So I thought of a new script. The script I mentioned before where I wanted the first feature to happen, I thought, okay, maybe I'll use that one as the synopsis or like the plot, the script that I'll be using for this show. That was a stressful time. I was filming at the same time with in mind where I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna start another feature film. This one has money in it, and like it was very annoying because I didn't know if I was gonna get accepted, and I was already getting ready for Act 2 and I had to cast other people, and they were ready. You know, I didn't want to have them wait for like 2 months.
Right.
Long story short, I didn't get accepted. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. I got that burden off my back. I can continue full on with this film. So that kind of delayed the production a good 4 months. That was some production problems.
Apply for award money before you start production.
Yes, that's for sure. Yeah, but you know, I mean, if the opportunity comes, why not try?
Yeah, why not try?
Whether it means some certain delays or something. But that was fun. That was a fun time, I guess. I wrote another script. That was cool. You know, I didn't expect that soon, but I liked it. I'll revise it, obviously, because I was rushed. But shooting the production finished late 2018. Pickup shots finished early 2019. So now we're in the post-production phase. Yeah.
And how's that going?
Right now we're working on sound, and sound is kind of difficult. Music was not so difficult. Music was like, well, I wrote the film revolving around music. So that was going to be the first thing done, you know, because most of the scenes are going to be cut to music, or there's going to be music implemented in the scenes one way or another. So that was fine. But ADR sucks. ADR is the worst thing. Sound mixing, that's honestly just sound mixing the ADR with everything else, because that thing's terrible. Sound design is fun. I love sound design. I love a lot of horror movies, so I use some of those tactics with this one. I love it. It's cool stuff.
Now, what would you describe the genre of this film?
Well, it's kind of a weird mixing bowl. In its core, it's sort of like an anti-coming-of-age film. I approached it where, like, all these coming-of-age movies were about, like, this guy going through a change. And, you know, like, oh, I'm going to get ready for the next change. But I never really see how it affects everyone around them, you know? Because in this case, I'm using Felix as that output. So, like, Brian's going through this change. He wants to change his course of life, but Felix is getting affected by it. So you see it from a different perspective, you know? It's very sort of like a personal story right there. But though in a surface, it's presented in a fun way because it's going to be 2 storylines. So I wanted it to be sort of a mesh between a B movie. There's some horror in there. There's some one night.
I saw in the trailer,
story.
like it looks like a Grindhouse type of film.
Yeah. That's exactly how I wanted it to be, because ultimately I wanted it to be fun. Of course, in there's some writing that's personal, but overall I did want someone to have fun while watching the movie and not just get a personal story, because, you know, it might get boring. You know, it might be boring. That's the one thing I don't want people to be when they're watching the movie. It's just bored. So,
Well, I think if you have the cool music and the fun editing, I think the audience will enjoy.
Right. I think so too.
Which congrats, because actually for no budget, it looks really good.
Thank you. I appreciate that, honestly.
So I am excited to see it, or hopefully.
Yes.
How did you find your cast? And did you basically just film it by yourself? Did you have like a small crew? Did Robert Rodriguez's Rebel Without a Crew help with that, not having a crew? Talk about that.
I definitely wanted it to be a mesh of non-actors and actors, because I'm so used to non-actors. I casted my friends, of course, and then I wanted some actors that were, you know, just I had to look for those actors, that's for sure. The experiment I wanted was that while having the actors and the non-actors, they could sort of help out each other. They'll bounce back personalities. If an actor's not having a difficult time trying to act natural or the way I would want them to act, specifically based on their character.
Mainly not looking at the camera.
Just like acting, just acting natural or the way I would want them to act. They'll just like talk to my friends and they'll like be taking from that. And then if a friend is feeling a little nervous, they'll speak to the actor and be a little more comfortable, It's cool. It helps each other. The crew is compiled of my friends, which are also the actors. I think it's kind of important if you have your actors sort of be a part of your crew. It kind of builds a work ethic. Everyone gets involved in the film. They're not just acting in the film and waiting until the final product comes out to finally see what it is. To actually be involved, and therefore I feel like it's a more. I think the product can be more efficiently done if everyone knows exactly what we're doing.
For the actors that you found, where did you find them on?
There is this service called Backstage. In Pasadena, they offered that service, and we had a promo code, so we were using it. Well, anyways, I'm not going to say that part because I'm probably going to mess it up for a lot of people. But they have a promo code, and it discounts the whole thing. And let's just say I used it, and yeah, we were able to find all our cast there. There was a lot of applicants, but frankly, half of the people that applied didn't either fall into the category or they just didn't respond. So I had to go look for at least the majority of these actors. The hard part was finding the skaters, because if there's one thing I know is that you can't have an actor learn how to skate and act like a skater. So I had to go find those skaters. So I would go around skate parks and we would make flyers for those and post them up. We got some people replying. We got some people to reply, but most of them weren't that serious. Some of them dropped out. That's what's expected. Eventually, I just used my friends, of course, because they skate, which I thank them for because they honestly devoted a lot of their time, free time, to just come out and film. Like I said, most of the film is made with my friends, and people casted are my friends. But while working with them for many months, they sort of take the thing seriously. I think that's what helps.
That's good.
Keep working on it. They take things seriously, and they kind of just get more involved. Like I said, if they get involved, they'll take it seriously. If not, then they'll just think it's a funny project.
Did you ever have to find yourself in front of the camera?
I came out as a cameo. My friend,
like Hitchcock, or
sort of, yeah. I mean, I thought it was a little shtick. It's like the thing that happened, so I just came out in it. My friend Alan, though, he plays multiple characters in it. It's funny. He either wears a hood, he's wearing a mask, he's looking the opposite direction. His hair grew pretty long throughout the whole 3 years, so he can play a completely different character. One of the skaters has long hair too, so he's a double. Sometimes it's crazy. He's very versatile when it comes to a cast member. It's funny. Yeah, most of the cast was everyone seems to have enjoyed it. That's the most important part. I value the fact that these actors that were on board since day one are still actually a part of it at the end. So
I'm excited to see the finished product.
Yeah, that's great. It's an experience.
So also a very important question, because you are filming this locally in the East LA community. Who did the location scouting? Did you already have it in mind, and did you have to go through any paperwork to do it, or were you guerrilla filmmaking and just like, let's film right here for this day and then run away?
Well, yeah. I mean, now that you mentioned guerrilla, yeah, that's honestly the only tactic I've ever learned in my film course, like history. Like, film professors will often tell me, yeah, there's permits. There's permits to sign up. It's a process, but if you know a place, go ahead and shoot there and get up. It's funny, but I also decided to shoot it in my local neighborhoods because I know it so well. And also I kind of adopted this style of filming during night only. And it kind of helps for this film too. This film is just shot entirely at night. And it helps because no one's on the streets. No one's going to bother you. If you go to a parking lot and you go there for a few hours, a couple hours, you just dip. You had to scout there. I scout. I usually just scout places I know. And there's a lot of places I know. There's a lot of landmarks. Like, we shot at El Pino. We often go there. It's not that dangerous. It's not dangerous at all, actually. It's just there. It's honestly, it's just empty places. It's just dark. It's the same thing. It's just not. There's no sunlight. That's all it is.
So how late would you shoot? Since you were shooting nights, like what was call time, and when would you wrap?
Well, call time would be usually around 7. If it's daylight savings time, it could either if it's on and off, then it'll go from 7 to 8 p.m. As long as it's sundown, we have the rest of the night to shoot. We don't go past 1 a.m. That's terrible. 1 a.m. is if someone does not get the lines right. Someone keeps joking around.
And you're punishing them.
Or I'm like, they're the ones staying longer because they're not doing well. It's usually my friends. But no one was having a bad time, that's for sure. But the call time usually started around 8 p.m., around there, and then we would shoot until the scene is done. Some scenes will take shorter time, but I love coverage. I love getting a lot of coverage. So
talk about coverage for people who don't
would
not understand that term.
Yeah, coverage is just get as much footage. I don't know. It could vary from angles, from takes, many takes. It's a sufficient amount of stuff so you can work with of the same thing, because someone's going to mess up. Someone's going to laugh. There's an airplane that passes. There's a car that honks. There's a light that's off. All these other things that happen, especially at night. It's crazy.
Filmmaking.
Yeah.
Any last minute advice you'd like to give our listeners about the process of filmmaking from your aspect?
Right.
Like people who want to get into like guerrilla filmmaking or like filmmaking with no budget, what can you offer advice for them to start their first project?
I mean, my tactic is to just try to spend little as money as possible, There's crowdsourced, but there's also out-of-pocket money, Take your filmmaking seriously. Don't take the film too seriously, because if you take yourself too seriously, then there's no fun. This is interview on this show called Split Screen. It's an old TV show. They interviewed John Waters and Herschel Gordon Lewis, the godfather of gore. And they were talking about, this is a moment where they were talking about debut features. And I really value that, because they're talking about how first-time filmmakers, they always want to do a personal story. They just want to take something so seriously, and they're not having so much fun. No one wants to watch something that's too serious, or else the audience would get bored. So have fun, Make sure your cast members, make sure everyone in the crew is having fun. If you're not paying them, go ahead and have them film the movie, pick up the camera. Don't have anyone sitting around. They're going to get bored. Just make use of that. Make use of your locations. Go outside if you are shooting with little budget. If there's one thing I know, is that if you're shooting a party scene, or if you're shooting something involving a house, 80% of the time is that the house is not going to look ideally to your vision. So shoot outside in the backyard. Shoot if you want a restroom, shoot in a restroom, but don't show the rest of it. Shoot with a long lens, which means, conceal most of the background,
Mm-hmm.
Just work with your limitations. Look outside, look at your neighborhood, look at the streets, shoot there. Street light is honestly really great, because that's your natural lighting there. I mean, it's all available. Shoot there. You don't need to rent out these big things. You have all these resources. Use a clamp light.
They're free.
Yeah, use a clamp light. Clamp lights work. It's crazy. It gets hot, but it works. It's kind of impossible not to make a film nowadays. If you're starting off, you have a device. It's a phone. If you want to do something better, invest in a big camera, but you don't need to spend a lot of money on a production. You just got to prep up for it, though. That's for sure. If you have influences, go ahead and implement that in your film. What helps build your style is definitely knowing yourself and what you want and what you like. If you like horror, light it in how a horror movie is, or add some music. If you don't have a composer, you have GarageBand on your phone. If you have an Android or anything like that, go ahead to the thrift store, get a Yamaha, an old Yamaha from like a thrift store. Play some keys, record on your phone.
John Carpenter.
Put it on your movie. There you go. You're a composer. It's really impossible not to make a movie. It's kind of easy. It just takes a lot of time and work ethic, motivation, and you just gotta take your movie seriously. Don't take yourself seriously.
Take your craft
seriously. Yeah.
So you talked about influences. What are some of your influences? Like you mentioned Evil Dead, Sam Raimi, and then you mentioned, well, I know you have Suspirius or Argento. What are some of your influences in your work that you would say?
Carpenter and Raimi. Romero, because those guys, they're like pinnacle of independent filmmaking because they know how to be resourceful. they made horror movies. It hasn't been taken seriously until maybe the last 10 years. I think everyone loves a horror movie. Now they're getting nominated. It's crazy. Horror movies ain't being taken seriously. But since the beginning, it's always been serious to me because that's difficult. And no one takes, either companies won't take a horror movie unless it's a cash grab, slasher film. But
Or super low budget where they know they can make a profit off it.
Yeah.
Like Blumhouse.
which I value them though, because
They do.
Yeah,
they have great.
Yeah, they showcase a lot of horror movies, and I'm glad because like horror needs to be continuous. I love horror movies, but definitely Romero, because Romero is Night of the Living Dead was really inspirational, man. Raimi, because he used his friends, and I don't know, the idea of using his friend and his brother Ted, like I don't know, and having to go. I think the production was like 4 years or 3 years. I don't know, just seeing that devotion towards that film. Filmmakers from the 70s. I love De Palma. De Palma's great.
Brian De Palma, yeah.
Yeah, fucking love Carrie, and I love Blowout. Those movies are sick.
Yeah.
I like Linklater. For sure,
yeah.
Linklater is great. It's tangents, the thoughts. That's what he really excels at. He knows how to just talk, have a conversation, have a person talk about themselves, and not sound so dull. Like there's a movie called Waking Life. It's all about just talking about either love for like 30 minutes, and then other ones we're talking about death, and the one's talking about anger. Very simple. It's all presented in rotoscope. It's interesting. It's cool. It's interesting stuff. I love Coppola. Sophia and Francis. They're great. Spielberg, E.T. E.T. was great to watch. I think that was the first favorite film I ever watched. I love that movie.
Which should I go into? What are some of your favorite movies?
Oh, man. Okay.
No pressure. You're good.
Definitely E.T., Suspiria, Evil Dead, Night of the Living Dead. Oh, Mad Max. I love Mad Max Fury Road. God, that was a great movie.
Great.
I was so satisfied with that movie. Punch Drunk Love. I love Paul Thomas
Anderson.
Wes Craven stuff. Carpenter. Let's see, Halloween and Nightmare. I grew up with Nightmare. Nightmare 3 especially.
Yes. Dream Warriors.
Yeah, it was fun. That's the first one I was
my favorite one too.
Halloween.
That's
definitely.
like one of the best sequels.
Yeah, it is. I liked it more than 2 and the rest. What else? Dead Alive. Dead Alive is cool. Peter Jackson's old stuff.
Yeah, Dead Alive. And it's so funny. I always find it funny when like people always confuse Dead Alive and Evil Dead.
Yeah, it's kind of easy to
It's
confuse.
just so funny.
Yeah, it's really cool. They're both great in their aspects. Ponyo's great. I love Ponyo. Kiki's. Those two are my favorite. I think they're talking about childhood a lot. That's why. I mean, most of the films are talking about childhood, but those are the first ones I saw that were like talking about that. So, Bug's Life. Bug's Life is great.
Have you seen Toy Story 4 yet?
I have not. I wanted to watch the Child's Play remake too. I'm taking it with a grain of salt because I love the original series. I still watch the current ones. Child's Play 2 is my favorite. That one's fun. But Toy Story 4, I don't know what to think about it. At first, I didn't think it was going to be anything special, but there you go with the reviews saying that it's great. I mean, it's Pixar, you know? I mean, if that's their flagship film, then I'm pretty sure they would take it that serious. And I'm pretty sure the script is great. Pretty sure the movie's good too. But I hope to just get satisfied when I go and watch. You know? I won't have any expectations because I really don't know what to expect for that movie. Godzilla. I love the Godzilla films. Damn.
Did you see them? I
haven't even watched the recent one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because we have a debate here. Because I really loved it because I love the action in it, but the storyline is stupid. So,
is it? Is it like very cheesy?
But who cares? It's about the monsters fighting. Like that was fun. Like I like that part.
What was that? Was the action great?
The action was amazing.
Okay, cool. That's
one of the best actions I've seen like ever.
That's nice. That's good. I mean, I think that's the main draw for Godzilla. You know.
Yeah, but there's a lot of human parts in it, which is really dumb. But
that's okay. Hopefully it doesn't drag too long. Shaun of the Dead. I love Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
Which is funny because when you were talking about Midnight Run and it being like cut to music and when it reminded me of like Baby Driver a little bit in that sense. And I was wondering if Edgar Wright was kind of an influence on you.
Baby Driver was impressive. I thought he knew songs. He wasn't using just pop songs that were. I mean, not that.
He had an
that says a
idea of
lot.
what he wanted.
Yeah, that says a lot because he's had this idea for a while. So he had a soundtrack in mind. So I'm like, oh, when people work with music, I think that's how you know you're having a passion project, because you know music also is personal too. So having a film work with music, that's also another level. Edgar Wright, yeah, I love Edgar Wright. Shaun of the Dead and Scott Pilgrim it's between those two that are my favorite from his.
Yeah. Scott
Pilgrim because I thought it was a literal comic book, like
translation
put onto screen. I was like, that was great. And it's fun. And Shaun of the Dead is because, I don't know.
It's clever.
It's good. Like at the end, I'm like, oh man, they're friends. I don't know. It's just like cool. I just love that. And it's funny. He has a lot of influences in his shows, a lot of horror movies, video games too. You can definitely tell. And it's not just.
I'm also a big fan of Hot Fuzz because what he did with the action.
Yeah, you can tell.
And action genre, I should say, in that film. Is there a way that people can follow you? If you want to give out your website? For your production company, so people could take a look at all the cool stuff you have on there? Yeah,
definitely. We have a website. It's called ramblingsproductions.com. S is after the rambling and production. And we also have an Instagram too, where we that's where most of the updates are coming from. You can follow it there. Same name, Ramblings Productions. There we post videos, promotions, mainly promotions from either Midnight Run or from other people on all the other artists on the collective. There's Leochus Ching, there's Louis Esteem, there's Jonathan Rocha, musicians, Danny Contreras, people, you know, people that are on part, you know. The website, that's our main hub. You can probably spend an hour just watching our stuff, listening to our stuff too. There's always stuff there. That's where you'll see updates for Midnight as well. There you'll see probably an update on how soon it'll be released as well, which I would say it's almost there.
Do you have an update or not yet?
We're almost wrapped with Foley, so all the sound mixing, the final sound mixing should be soon. There's a VFX portion, very small, that's being worked on, but as far as that goes, it just needs one test screening, and then we're good to figuring out how we're going to release it. My main goal for this is I do want to show it locally. So you do have a chance to watch it. I feel like the one thing is that you will have a chance to watch it if you are local. If you're in LA, you will be able to watch it. Basically, hopefully soon there'll be some sort of distribution process. There will be. I just don't know. Right now, I'll take it one step at a time. The movie's almost finished. It's been a long process, but
focus on that first, and then the
it's
rest will come to you.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations on working on your first feature film.
Thank you.
And we look forward to hearing it and seeing it. And we're super excited. So thank you so much for being on the show. Do you want to promote any personal social media? You don't have to. If you want to just promote just Rambling Productions, that's fine as well.
Just definitely the Instagram, because I need more followers on there. That's where all the promotion's at. And
so go to Instagram. Yeah. What's Instagram for Ramblings Productions?
It's also Ramblings Productions. One word or put together. One S after the rambling and production as well.
All right, so make sure to go follow that now. Thank you so much, Richard. We appreciate you being on the show. And thank you to our sound guy, Mike, as well.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys for having me. Honestly, it's great.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. I hope you had fun.
I did. Thank you.
So that would do it for us here at Movie Menu Interviews. Make sure to go to our website at moviemenupodcasts.com. Make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or wherever you listen to your podcasts for all new episodes of Movie Menu Interviews. Thank you guys. Until next time, goodbye.